Hello, good evening. You're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. Here are today major updates from across Canada.
A Canadian real estate company is eyeing Toronto's soft condo market as it looks to buy $500 million worth of unsold units, starting with a $30 million bulk purchase steps from Toronto Metropolitan University. Just Our Group, based in Montreal, announced Tuesday its acquisition of the condos in the downtown core as the first part of a 12-month strategy that will target more than 1,000 properties in the city. The number of condos included in the purchase and their addresses were not disclosed. In a news release, the company said that Toronto's current market environment has created a unique window to deploy capital at scale. The firm said it is actively pursuing additional bulk acquisitions across high-quality downtown Toronto locations. Their plans for the properties were not made clear in the news release. The announcement comes at a time when condo sales in Toronto are plunging. An analysis of Toronto's real estate market by Urbanation last month found that sales declined to a 35-year low in the first quarter of 2026. At the same time, there were 0 new condo projects launched in the GTHA for the first time in decades. Students with special educational needs in 3 Ontario school boards, including the TCDSB, are facing long wait times for help and inconsistent supports, a new report by Ontario's Auditor General finds. Our audit concluded that the ministry and the school board selected for audit did not always have procedures in place to support consistent compliance with legislation, regulations, and ministry policies for special education programs and services. Auditor General Shelley Spence wrote in a new report tabled Tuesday. Among other things, Spence found that students with special needs were sometimes excluded from school without formal tracking or documentation. An average of 239 students receiving special educational services were reported as excluded each year between the 2020-2021 and 2023-2024 school years, the report found. There were 23 school boards across Ontario that reported no exclusions of students with special education needs each year. However, a teacher survey conducted by the auditor found 39% of teachers had observed at least one undocumented exclusion during the school year. Among those teachers, a third indicated it had happened more than 5 times. Speaking with reporters, Spence said she's not able to say how much exclusions are being underreported. She said if stringent reporting requirements for formal exclusions are hampering tracking, she would like to see less onerous but more consistent tracking so that the ministry can better identify why children are being excluded. Responding to the report, Ontario Education Minister Paul Calandra acknowledged he found some of the details about exclusions troubling and that more needs to be done on the special education file. However, he added that additional money might not unnecessarily be the problem. The auditor's report noted that while special education funding from the ministry increased by 15% from 2019 to 2022, 2023 to 2024, total spending on special education by school boards over that period increased by 19%. In addition to the undocumented exclusions, Spence found families were not always provided with proper resources to help their child succeed, and that special education plans varied in terms of completeness and clarity of information. The 3 school boards selected for the audit of special education programs were the Toronto Catholic District School Board, the Peel District School Board, and the Upper Canada District School Board. Spence also found poor oversight when it came to implementing individualized education plans. She also found variation in identification criteria and placement practices, high rates of unfilled absences among special education staff, and long wait times for professional assessments. A motorcyclist has died following a collision involving a vehicle in Vaughan on Tuesday. The crash happened near Dufferin Street and Caraway Drive, just south of Highway 47. York Regional Police said they were called to that area at 10:15 a.m. for reports of two-vehicle collision. Investigators said the operator of the motorcycle was found deceased when officers arrived at the scene. Currently, Dufferin Street is closed in both directions at Highway 47 until further notice as police investigate. Police say westbound Highway 47 to northbound Dufferin Street remains open, as does southbound Dufferin Street from eastbound Highway 47. A wide-ranging report by Ontario's Auditor General has found that the province's artificial intelligence AI strategy still lacks several key components, and there are problems with thousands of civil servants using unsafe AI websites and inaccuracies in AI note-taking used by some family doctors and other healthcare professionals. The audit period ran from January to November 2025 and took a broad look at the use of AI throughout the Ontario government. OPS staff can access unsafe and unsecured AI websites. The ministry had not implemented security controls to prevent its staff from inadvertently uploading personal or sensitive information to Gen AI websites. Ontario Auditor General Shelley Spence said in a report tabled Tuesday on the use of AI in the Ontario government. Legislation that came into effect in 2025 tasked the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement with developing an AI playbook and policies for the Ontario Public Service OPS. As the September 2025 key AI systems were in different phases of implementation across the OPS. When it comes to AI Scribe, the AI note-taking software made available to healthcare professionals through government-approved vendors, the auditor found that there are sometimes serious errors in terms of the notes that are generated. For example, most AI systems that were tested generated notes capturing a different drug than what was prescribed in test conversations. The AI systems also sometimes fabricated information and made incorrect suggestions for the patient's treatment plan, such as referring the patient for therapy or ordering blood tests, even though there was no mention of those steps in the simulated recordings. Speaking with reporters, Spence noted that during a recent appointment with her own doctor, she noticed they were using the software and asked them to make sure they were checking the AI-generated notes. When assessing vendors, the auditor noted in her report the ministry assigned relatively low weighting to accuracy of notes. The auditor also noted that there was no requirement for users to confirm they had checked over the AI-generated notes after a conversation and recommended that be made a mandatory part of the software. Responding to report, Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement Stephen Crawford told reporters that humans are still part of the equation. He emphasized that the audit caught serious AI hallucinations in note-taking during the testing phase for products rather than real-world use. He also noted that the note-taking AI saves doctors around 5 hours per week of clerical work on average. It's not about replacing workers, it's about enhancing their jobs and making decisions more efficiently, he said. A Canada-wide warrant has been issued for a suspect allegedly linked to a shooting in Mississauga, police announced Tuesday. Police said the shooting happened on February 21st near a plaza in the Kennedy Road and Eglinton Avenue area, where investigators report finding 2 victims, one with life-threatening injuries. Carlos Rodriguez, 21, of Mississauga, is wanted for 7 different offenses, including attempted murder. Police described the suspect as male Latin American, 5'11", approximately 150 pounds, with a slim build and black hair. Popular U.S. cafe chain Dunkin is expected to make a return to Canada after shutting hundreds of locations before leaving 8 years ago. Its return this time will be different, says Peter Mamas, the president and CEO of restaurant holding company Food Tastic, which signed a master franchising agreement with Dunkin owner-inspired brands to bring the cafe chain back to the north. Mamas says this time the chain's focus will be on Canadian ownership. Dunkin confirmed its total exit from the Canadian market in September 2018. The failure of the brand was cemented by a $16.4 million civil court judgment awarded to Quebec franchisees after they successfully sued Dunkin Brands Canada Limited for failing to adequately support and promote the brand against competitors to Tim Hortons. Mama says that situation was different because it was many years ago under different leadership. Now a Canadian company bought the rights to the chain and will do things differently. Mamas expects the first Dunkin' cafes to open in Canada later this year. A year from now, he says the company will likely to be able to open a cafe a week and about 50 cafes a year. The Montreal-based restaurant holding company owns and manages over 1,200 locations across Canada and internationally. Its portfolio includes major chains like Second Cup, Milestones, Freshie, Pita Pit, and Caseta. With that experience, Mama says the company is well positioned to scale the brand. He says the company will concentrate on opening stores in Quebec and Ontario for the first 2 years before opening cafes in the Maritimes and the West Coast. Mama says Food Tastic already successfully brought Jimmy John's to Canada. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he doesn't believe in attacking other cities' bids to host a multinational defense bank as he makes his own pitch for Toronto as the best choice for project. Ford made the comments in a news conference today after he was asked to respond to allegations that Toronto officials have been lobbying for their city by raising the threat of potential Quebec sovereignty referendum. The Premier emphasized his love of Montreal, throwing in a Go Habs cheer for the city's hockey team. Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Vancouver are all competing to host the Defense, Security, and Resilience Bank, which is set to provide financing for defense projects by NATO members and allies. A group representing key members of Quebec's financial sector joined several Quebec politicians in lobbying for Montreal as the natural choice to headquarter the bank, touting its strong financial industry and the presence of dozens of international organizations. But Ford says Toronto is the only city in Canada that can give the bank what it needs, including access to one of the largest financial hubs in North America, the headquarters of Canada's 5 largest banks and many of its largest pension funds, as well as the offices of several international banks. The province has already found a temporary location for the bank and will help it find a permanent one, he said. The Premier said he hasn't received any clarity from Ottawa on what criteria will be used in selecting the host city.
Thank you for watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.